Willkommen, liebe Age of Empires 2 Community, zu diesem Interview, das ich mit einem US-amerikanischen Spieler namens SweetLou geführt habe. Dieses Interview kommt zustande, weil Felix, der ja hier mein Mitpodcaster und auch mein festes 2v2-Teammitglied ist, und ich regelmäßig in der Ladder auf SweetLou und sein Team stoße und wir bisher kein einziges Spiel gewinnen konnten. Denn SweetLou hat eine Taktik, die ich mal ganz vorsichtig als Ultra-Towerrush bezeichnen würde, und er ist unschlagbar damit. Und irgendwann hatte ich satt und ich dachte mir, komm, ich muss mal mit ihm über diese Taktik sprechen, weil ich mir gedacht habe, das ist auch für euch eigentlich eine ganz interessante Herangehensweise ans Spiel, und vielleicht ist es nicht nur für mich von Interesse, wie man einen solchen Gegner besiegt, sondern für euch alle. Ich wünsche euch also viel Spaß mit diesem Interview, das komplett in Englisch abgehalten wurde, da, wie gesagt, SweetLou ein US-Amerikaner ist. Wenn ihr eine deutsche Zusammenfassung hören möchtet, dann empfehle ich euch das Magazin Nummer 5. In der Aprilausgabe unseres Age of Empires Magazins werden wir nämlich das Interview nochmal in Deutsch zusammenfassen und Felix und ich dann gemeinsam noch einmal über die Strategie von den beiden sprechen. Ansonsten bleibt an dieser Stelle nur noch mein Dank an euch, dass ihr euch unseren Content anhört, dass ihr unseren Podcast folgt und auch dieses Interview anhören werdet. Unser Projekt und auch solche Interviews wie dieses hier kommen vor allen Dingen dadurch zustande, dass es einige von euch gibt, die uns unterstützen. Und zwar auf Steady, eine Art Crowdfunding-Plattform. Schon ab 2,50 € könnt ihr uns da ein wenig Trinkgeld geben. Ab 5 € könnt ihr insbesondere dann, wenn ihr euch auch noch für viele andere Spiele interessiert, ganz viele weitere Podcasts von uns erhalten. Die sind sozusagen exklusiv für UnterstützerInnen. Und für die ganz, ganz Spendablen unter euch gibt es sogar noch die Extra-Pakete, mit denen ihr uns ein richtig großes Kompliment machen könnt. Falls ihr glaubt, dass dieses Projekt das wert ist, dann schaut vorbei auf www.startthegamealready.de, unserer Homepage. Dort seht ihr unter Bäcker werden eure Option dazu, wie ihr uns unterstützen könnt und auch in Zukunft dafür sorgt, dass es weitere solcher Episoden gibt. Und jetzt wünsche ich euch viel Spaß mit dem Interview. Hello, Lou. I am very happy that you're joining me today for a little talk. You are my team's arch nemesis, if I may say so. You have been terrorizing us on the ladder, and whenever we face up against you, we'd like to quit the game instantly.
I'm happy to hear that.
You're happy, great.
That means it's working. Perfect.
Yeah, it really is. We have not won a single game against you. I'm not sure how many times we've actually matched up. I think it has been a couple of times. And today I would like to talk to you about your strategy. But first, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, so my name is Louis Pfaff. I'm actually from the United States. I live in New York. And I've been playing Age of Empires for over 20 years, going back to the HD days and Voobly. That's that.
Well, thanks. So you're an all-timer. You're like a veteran in Age of Empires 2. I have been playing Age of Empires 2 when it came out as well, but I was a little younger. I'm now 34 years old, actually. So I was in my youth, and I haven't been playing it competitively. I've been playing campaigns. Have you always been playing competitively?
Yeah. I always preferred, rated. I almost never play campaigns or play the computer. So
I'm curious to hear about, how did you react when DE came out? Were you excited? Were you afraid?
Yeah, no, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't as good at the time. I just I started learning and I started watching the Viper and getting better and better, and then I was just starting to think of things that were outside of the norm. But no, I always loved real-time strategy. I used to play Red Alert too back in the day. I was pretty good at that. But this game to me is like the perfect game. I think it combines all the elements, offers great team games. It's just all around just great game. I think it's never going to go away, and I firmly don't believe too that AoE 4 is going to misplace AoE 2. I think AoE 2 will stay bigger.
Yeah, neither do I. We'll be talking about 2v2s today, but are you also a 1v1 player?
Yeah, my 1v1 ELO I think is like 1655 or something like that.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Nice.
Yeah, it's just all from tower rushing Arabia. Like 90% of my ELO is one-on-one tower rushing Arabia.
All right, so you've already mentioned the topic of today. So let's go back in time a bit. Before the newest DLC came out and the polls were introduced, we'll talk about why that is important in a moment. These days, you are playing with someone called Marketeer, we've noticed, but before you were teamed up with a guy called Equalizer. And if I remember correctly, he was always playing as the Saracens, and I forgot what
Yeah.
civ you've picked. Can you tell us a bit about your strategy and what it was and how it came to be?
Yeah, so going back years ago, I put together my own kind of Inca tower rush. It was it wasn't like Noboru's. His is different than mine. My old Inca rush. And so I came up with my own build. It was a little, it was different in a bunch of different ways, but and then I transitioned into Eagles, and it got me to like about 2K in HD at the time, which was pretty decent, I think. But then, then I started playing, on D, and it's a lot better. But they nerfed the Incas big time. Like taking away the armor basically just made them useless for tower rushing. The stone discount is not good enough, and getting the armor upgrade in Castle Age is basically useless. So the Incas were just not viable for tower rushing. And so I started looking at the polls, and I'm like, when they came out, it didn't hit me right away. But then, like, I started really just looking at their tech tree and their benefits, and I'm like, holy crap, this civilization is the best civ ever created for tower rushing. And it's not even close. Like, the Incas pre-nerf are not as strong as the Poles right now in tower rushing. I can honestly say that. It's not even close. You really have to be well practiced in it, because it's difficult to pull off correctly and keep your TC going with no idle time, because you constantly have to be going back and forth between the trush, and your economy. And you're fairly open at home too. So you got to, you got to be really, really careful with your vills. You got to have good reaction and anticipation of what your guy's going to do or where he's going to go, when's he going to come forward. But yeah, go ahead. I could talk all day. I'll let you ask the question. Yeah.
Well, then let's talk about the polls since you've already mentioned them. Maybe be more specific for those in our audience that are not too familiar with the specifics of each civilization. Can you tell us why you think the Poles are predestined to be a Tower Rush civilization?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, all right, so for a few different reasons. The first one, the most important one, is their villages regenerate HP, which is just crazy valuable when you're tower rushing, because you can engage in villager fights and then just run away and then regenerate and then pop back out and fight again. So it's not uncommon for me to have some games where I have like a 22-0 kill ratio without making one military unit. I've done that. Like, I had one that was like 22-2 this morning or something. So the villagers regenerating the HP is huge, absolutely huge. And then two, another huge bonus is that they get 50% of the mine, all the stone mined, they get credit for gold as well. So that's actually just a huge bonus, because right around the time I'm about to come out with a market, I have a ton of gold in the bank to buy food and to stabilize out my economy, purchase some wood, start seeding some farms around the mill, which is the third bonus that is so huge. It's so powerful, is putting your farms around the mill. Like, I don't even put my farms around the TC. Like, if you watch my games of the polls, my farms are not around my TC. Like, I'll put my blacksmith like right touching my town center or pretty close, so that nobody could destroy it. It's within arrow range, so that's custom to me. Nobody else does that. Like, so all right. So those three bonuses are huge. Like the farm bonus, you'd be amazed at how quickly, with 2 mills and farm upgrade, that you can get up to Castle Age. 3 mills, and that's really all you need to fight in Castle Age. You can have a really nice production of knights, and just keep them flowing. But those are the 3 reasons why the polls are just amazing. And like I said, the biggest one is is just frankly the HP regenerating. It's just crazy. And
Yeah.
then if you go get wheelbarrow, or you could just, I mean, you literally can just outrun the guys, pick fights, and just, I mean, you can have your way with them. I was playing this one 1500 player. I think he was like 1550, and I just had a villager going in circles in his base for like probably 10 minutes. And and then I would just turn around every once in a while and kill one of his villagers when my HP got high enough, and then just keep running around. It was, we're stealing a farm and just being annoying. So
Yeah.
anyhow, go ahead.
So your Tower Rush, it's still not the common Tower Rush that we know. It is way more aggressive than anything I've ever experienced because you always come up at the right time to deny the most important resources to deny your Tower Rush. And I feel like there's a million villagers, and I do not know how you produce them so fast and how you even have an economy at home.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You just nailed it. It's so very difficult to send as many villagers forward as I send, and to keep your eco and your TC working, and your almost endless stream of towers. You'll have some downtime where you're waiting for stone here and there, and then I'll use that opportunity to like take out one of their buildings, or a house or something. But you can do it. You also need to know, like, you can't be afraid to just get another 8 villagers or 5 villagers and just send them forward. Like, there's been times where I've had, like something like 18 to 20 villagers forward. I don't have a problem with that. I like that actually because, I have all of my towers around his base. So his base is actually safer place for me to take resources than my own base because I have no
Yeah.
military, so it's like, it kind of works to my advantage if, I keep sending these villagers forward because I'm just, A, I'm stealing his resources, and then B, he can't really attack me because I have towers all over his base.
Yeah. So it's basically an all-in strategy, but it's almost foolproof.
Yeah, it's definitely all in. I mean, I get caught sometimes. Like I beat some
Yeah.
player. He was 1701 this morning. I beat the shit out of him. It was sorry, it was great. But if they react correctly, you could
Yeah.
definitely lose. I mean, you're pretty much. I'll know if I'm going to win the game probably like halfway through feudal age. I can tell if the guy knows how to defend the tower rush properly or not. And then, if he starts doing some of the wrong things, it's over. I mean, there's no way. It'll just keep snowballing and the guy's dead. Usually I can get the castle age too before my opponent. And then they're in all kinds of trouble because I generally tend to have a lot of stone in the bank, and I could just drop a castle right on them. Or I can drop into knights right away. So it's yeah.
So, of course, I can see this working for 1v1s, but we always face up in 2v2s, and you have a teammate. I called him Equalizer before, and now it's a different guy. But let's talk about this Equalizer guy before.
No, it's Equalizer. He's the guy I play with the most. That guy's from Jordan. He and I, we actually, our ELOs, like when we play together, we win a lot. I think we won like 9 or 10 games in a row once. The reason being is like I cannot play with somebody who's like trying to do a FC, which is fast castle for those who don't know. It doesn't work. Like if my player is not attacking the other player in feudal age, the other player can go to my base and kill me, or go to the guys that I'm trushing and help them. So they could totally kill my trush. So it's key that the other guy is as YOLO as I am. That he and Equalizer's a maniac. He's his ELO is like is probably is around mine one-on-one, but he's usually ranked higher than me. He's in the 16. He's been over 1700, and he's just a Saracen animal. Like that guy, his Saracen rush is just crazy. I tried copying it, and I just couldn't. Like it's one of those things where he's just so good with the Saracens, and doing this strategy, and he's totally all in YOLO. Like like he'll be at your base with like siege and monks before you even think he's up to castle.
Yes.
And So he's hitting his guy, right? So when we play 2-on-2, it's like, it's not likely both of our strategies are going to fail against the other guy. It usually turns into 2 1-on-1s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because the other guy can't leave his base because he's under constant pressure, and my guy definitely can't leave his base to go help. I mean, he's fighting the whole time. So if his strategy loses, sometime it's not likely that my strategy also lost. So generally speaking, if he's on his back foot, my guy's dead or dying, or vice versa, where I'm not really having too much success with my trush, but his guy's completely annihilated with no TC. So what I can do is like I can get a sense of how he's doing based on the other guy's score and the time of the game. So I know he always needs food based on his build strategy. So I'll just start sending him like shitload of food, like at the exact right time. I think he needs it to keep the night production going and just kill his guy. So you have to have that feel and that spidey sense to kind of know, like, all right, when my guy is struggling, you don't want to like let it get out of control where you lose the game and you can't come back. So sometimes you have to know when to pull back on your eco and your production, and then start helping your teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And there's sometimes I'll just have to start sending, some scouts. Like I usually don't even make a barracks until like the Castle Age. It's like kind of crazy.
Crazy.
Because I generally don't need, unless he starts massing scouts, and I'll have to make a barracks and then pop out a couple spearmen. But I'm generally don't have the resources for that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I run a very, very tight shift. Like being able to send, I basically figured out, how I can send the most villagers forward without idling anything. And it's so difficult, but you really need it. When you have that many villagers forward, you can fight off 3 or 4 scouts.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they do stupid things, like they'll pick fights with me. They'll come in with their scouts, right? They'll get in a few hits and they'll run away. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're an idiot. I'm saying in my head, I'm like, my HP is just going to regenerate, but yours isn't. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
So we take a few swipes at each other, right? He runs away, but now he lost the HP forever. My HP will be
Yeah.
back. So that's the thing with the Poles, is when you go in to fight their villages, you have to kill them. You can't just leave him half dead and then run away. You need to like take a decisive fight where you're going to kill the villagers. And then, if I lose a few villagers though, like if I see myself, even if I'm down 2 villagers, like 3 or 4 more are coming forward. I'm not, if I got my initial starting crew, a lot of times I won't send more forward unless I think like I can hit another side of his base, which is
Mm-hmm.
also very powerful, because when you're tower rushing a guy, like to be successful like at the 1600 level, right? Or even 15, maybe, yeah, 1500 and up. When you're tower rushing, you want to attack him in like 2 places at the same time. A lot of times they get focused on where the tower rush is, but I might have 2 or 3 towers going up at the same time in different parts of his base. And
Yeah.
that's where you can get some really nice kills.
That's how you killed me every time.
Yeah, he doesn't notice that other tower chilling on the other wood line, just killing all these villagers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I tend to like to stick a house too when it's time to build a house. Like I'll put it next to his lumber camp. Like I'll wedge it in between his lumber camp and his wood line. So even if I lose the position, I just fucked up his wood line.
Yeah, it's so humiliating. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, you got to do these little things like and then I almost always end up stealing his berries, which, like I said, it's one of those things where it's not just like the 300 or 400 food you're taking from him, but you're doing it right in front of his face and his base, and
Yeah.
most players, that drives them up the wall, and then they start doing stupid things, like they're like, oh, I'll drop a tower over here so he can't take that. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you really need that tower somewhere else, but that's fine. I'll just walk away.
So, so what's really fascinating to me is that before we started this recording, you told me that you're actually not talking to your teammate.
Yeah,
And
Equalizer does not talk on Discord. A lot of my teammates do. He's
Mhm.
like the only guy that just doesn't. We don't chat, but ironically, I play with him better than anybody else.
So is that declining? Do you not play with him anymore? Because the last couple of times we faced up against you in Marketeer.
He's been out for like the last 2 weeks. He hasn't played that much But then, we'll have a clip where we play like 3 games a day, for like a while. But I don't know. So I don't know if he's like something's going on with him right now. Yeah.
It's so mind-boggling that you guys get along so well in the game and you basically don't know anything about each other.
Yeah, it's funny. You know something else we do too that you think it's just kind of hilarious. We've probably been doing this for years. Right before the game launches, he always types in a wooloo, and I always type in a 103, which is use your onager to cut down trees in the flared location, right? So we always just type that in right before the game launches every single time. It's just hilarious.
It's like a ritual.
Yeah, it's like a ritual. I don't know how the hell we started doing that, but yeah.
So that's very fascinating.
Yeah, we also have a pretty crazy strategy on Arena that we play together a lot. Like where I have a pretty sick build with the Portuguese on Arena, and then he does like a fast imp with the Turks. But we keep talking about Arabia. Arabia is like it's the bread and butter. But he almost never plays. I think out of all the games I played with him on Arabia, maybe 95% of the times he's Saracens. He almost never picks anybody else. He has the craziest Saracen build ever. I mean, I've seen him take out like 1900 level players. It's so hard to stop.
Yeah. He's a real beast with them.
Yeah, because here's the thing too, I want to say this, like a lot of players don't have the balls to idle your TC, right? And you really need to do it sometimes. Like you need to just be like, you know what? I want to get all these upgrades right now, or I have enough vills to produce enough military where I can just overrun my guy. And I think that decision making, it can help make the difference between like beating a 15 or 1600 level player and losing, or even a 1400 level player. You got to have the ball sometimes to just idle your TC or go 1 TC. Like you'll almost never see him with 2 town centers. It's so rare. Like that, he never booms like ever. It's just like he's gonna 1 TC kill your ass. Like period. And he's so good too. That's how I met him. Like the first time, he just kicked my ass, right, with the Saracen thing, and I'm like, how the hell did he do this? I'm like, this is just crazy. So I'm watching the replay. I'm like, this guy's a friggin' maniac. I love it. Right. So I'm like, I gotta start talking to him. So we started like just chatting, and we played a game together. And then we realized something, that both of our strategies together was like really sick. So our team ELO started going up through the roof. Like we were just killing people because, we were both super aggressive. So it like worked together better. Yeah. Anyhow, so that's what ended up happening. He is one of the best players I've ever played against when it comes to microing siege and monks and knights at the front. Like he knows exactly how to put pressure on you and move those things around, and he focuses 90% of his time on the front.
Yeah,
you can't do that as much with the tower rushing. You have to constantly be back and forth to your base, and then back to the front, back to your base, back to the front. You got to know when to build a market.
He's like really fast in Castle Age, despite making 1 million scouts in Feudal Age.
No, he does. He'll have 3 to 4 scouts in Feudal Age. Yeah, but he also has variations. Like it's not the same thing every time. Like if he feels like, I'm gonna do cav archers this time, or I'm not gonna do any scouts, or I'm gonna make 5 scouts with armor. It all depends on like what he notices the other guy doing. But yeah, he market abuses, and then he gets up to Castle Age really fast. And then there's always like forward siege and monks and stables. Yes. You're gonna have a hard time, because if you're not in Castle Age, when he hits Castle Age, man, you got about 45 seconds to a minute, and then everything's gonna just start hitting your base. So it usually works out okay.
So we have to talk about how to actually beat you, because this is something we've been working on for a long time, and we've been analyzing replays, and we've only come up with one solution, and that is that it's impossible to beat you unless we do exactly the same thing as you do, but better and faster, and we can't do that. So basically, you're unkillable for us. So what is the recipe to kill you?
Well, all right. So let me tell you kind of the mistakes that people make first, and then I can tell you the things that people do that I tend to lose to. All right. So the mistakes that people make, like they put their towers out in the open, like their defensive tower. And that works. Like a lot of times if you watch, like Viper videos or, any of those guys on MBL, they generally won't tend to rush down a tower. But I get excited when I see another guy put a tower out in the open. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll even wait for him to get it up a little bit before I go over there and just take it down. Because 8 villagers attacking his tower, he's not expecting me to attack his tower. And then most of the times I could get the tower down and run away before I even lose a villager. So because my HP will start to get low, but then I'll just run away and then regenerate. So he just lost all of his stone now, right? So that's a big mistake. You don't want to put your tower out in the open if it's not protected with archers or something. So a lot of people make that mistake. So if you're going to put a tower, it's good to put it within range of your town center, okay? So then I can't knock it down. There's really nothing I can do.
Basically, give up some territory.
Yes.
Even if it costs some resources, but place a tower that's safe, that you can't take down.
Correct. What you have to do is you can't lose villagers, all right? So too many people try engaging me, and that's what I want. I want to be engaged. I want you to come try to fight me. Because I honestly, I'm one of the best microers out there when it comes to tower rushing, hopping in, out, repairing towers, killing villagers, fighting. That's my wheelhouse. So if you want to engage in that in early feudal, let's go all day long. It's most likely going to end up in the other guy losing. So what you want to do is you want to protect your villagers. The guys that beat me do this almost all the time. Right? I can't get at their vills for some reason. They're either well walled off or they saw me coming and, they just adjusted, but they moved their vills back, right? And then they slowly build up military numbers before they attack. Okay, that's the smart thing. When people start trickling in 2 scouts at a time, 3 archers, even 4 archers, you really need 4 with fleshing, to be honest with you. But when you start slow dripping units in, right, you're going to be GG. Because you're just going to get behind, and I'm gonna get the castle age before you, and because it's not free to make scouts, right? So so when you build up your numbers and now you have enough, you protected your villagers, you should be able to get up the castle age before me. And if that happens, I'm in a lot of trouble because then the siege comes out, the knights or elephants, and my whole push is over, and the game's likely over. So I have to do damage in feudal, all right? So I'll be honest too, most of the times walls don't work because I'm there before the guy even gets him down. And I'm usually coming into his base in weird angles that he's not expecting.
Yeah.
Additionally, I usually have 2 towers before he even sees the second one. There's a backup tower. So if he sends 10 villagers to try to take out the first tower, I'm going to kill at least 3 or 4, and he's not going to get shit. He might get both towers. I'll kill 5 or 6 villagers, and then I'll just start making more towers. Because he's not, he's not going to kill any of my bills. He's just going to take some HP away. But you got to be smart. You got to run them away. When you see the HP getting low, you got to micro like crazy. Because if you make mistakes with your villagers in a tower rush and you start losing them, the game's over really fast. Yeah. But if you keep your villagers alive, let's go, man. There's been times I'm looking at the map after the game. I got 14 towers.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's totally surrounding his base, and then so I have all these options. I get the castle age, right? It's now if it's one of those games where I got towers all over the place, I got some in my own base too, right? I'll really trick them sometimes. I'll go Bodkin ballistics, right? So Bodkin ballistics, right? Now it gets really crazy. Even if a guy starts sending knights in to try to take out a TC or something, he's holy crap, this guy's got Bodkin ballistics. Who does that with poles? But and then throw in a guard tower every once in a while. But they're very versatile. If I want to drop a castle, then I could just start pumping out the unique units, the Obuk, which are just great. Those things are just, I think they need to be more expensive, and their production time needs to decrease because they're too OP right now, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
That's just me. I hope they don't nerf them. They better leave the friggin' Poles alone. I was so depressed after they nerfed the Incas. I was like, no, you can't nerf the Incas. Oh man, I had the craziest build. I was like writing the Eagles. It was so just beautiful.
All right. So basically, what you're saying is, when facing up against you and you tower rush me, I need to be patient and I need to, mark my territory and really be conscientious about which places I defend and which I'll give up. Get into castle age and pull you back.
Yeah, what fights you take too. Like that's super important. You can give a guy some territory, right? Like, you have more than one gold. You have more than one wood line, right? It's not going to kill you to lose berries. But what will kill you is losing villagers. You can come and retake that gold back later. You know what I'm saying? You can go get that stuff later in Castle Age when you're there ahead of him and you have a bigger army, and now you're taking a better fight. Like, you're not taking a scared fight. Like, oh shit, I have to react. This guy's in my base tower rushing. Which a lot of people, even like some of these high elo guys that I go up against, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I just beat that guy. He was like 1900 or 1850 or some crazy number.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's pretty nuts. But they panic. Like, their meta is really good. And when you start getting into it with them and you can see their fight and their maneuvers are just sick and they're quick walling, but they're not used to like these kind of villager fights and these all in like feudal ages. Like, so it throws them into a different game. And that's what I like to do.
So what we've tried against you and your teammate was to ignore your attack and instead get to your economy and try to kill your villages there, so you won't be able to place more towers and the Saracen player won't be able to get into the next age. But that has always failed because you hardly have economy. And that part of the economy is well defended.
Oh yeah, this is great. So this is another part of my meta, like that I came up with my tower rushing, is like I don't take my straggler trees. Those are my emergency trees. Right. So when somebody hits my wood line, I'm like, okay, I'll just take my villagers and I got 400 wood chilling around my town center. And that is more than enough time before his guys are like, all right, we can't get any action here. We're just going to go home and I go back to the wood line. So it's like one of those things. But so really the one thing I'm usually a little bit nervous about is if they get to my stone, right? Because that's the most important thing for a Polish player. Is you have to, like, it's like your lifeblood. If they cut off the stone, I'm like a dead man. So I have to have my stone. So that sometimes I actually will drop a tower near my stone, or I'll come in and I'll wall it in. So you really have to kind of get there with archers, and then you have to bring enough. Like these guys, they send 1 or 2 archers, and you're never going to kill Polish villagers with just a couple archers. Right, so I'll rush you down too. Like, what are you going to do if I send 4 villagers, 2 to each, and I'll just chase you around the map? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to keep microing? Well, good luck, because I'm tower rushing you at home. So I have to force you to micro at home.
Yeah.
So the more I can force the guy's actions per minute at his own house, his own town center, the less he has time to harass my eco, which is fragile. And then if it gets real crazy, like I said in my base, I'll take all my villagers and just go to his base, and that'll be my new base. And half the times he doesn't realize that's happening until like later on. He's like, "Holy wait, where the hell is he?" And I'm just around all my towers, like we talked about. So it's like, all right, now I'm in Castle Age. Let's go.
All right, Lou. Do you have anything else you want to add before we stop this interview?
Nah, man. It's just yeah. Don't hate on tower rushes, man. It's a great part of the game. It's always been a part of the game. I used to be like a tooting guy back in the day. You get extra villagers and towers, but it's fun. You got to learn to react. How to react to it, and how not to overreact to it. Right?
Not to panic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go, man.
Thank you very much for taking the time and talking to me and kind of teaching me how to counter you. I will promise I will practice it. I will also promise to still panic when I face you in the match.
Well, good luck, baby.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Good luck out there, and have a great weekend.